Reading is from Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1 to 4. But there will be no gloom for those who were in anguish. In the former time he brought into contempt the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. But in the latter time he will make glorious the way of the sea, the land beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who have lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult in dividing plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken as on the day of living. The second reading is from Matthew 4, verses 12 to 23. Now when Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew to Galilee. He left Nazareth and made his home in Capernaum by the sea, in the territory of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that what had been spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Land of Zebulun, land of Naphtali, on the road by the sea, across the Jordan, Galilee of Gentiles. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light. And for those who sat in the region of the shadow of death, the light has dawned. From that time, Jesus began to proclaim, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. This is what
Thanks be to God.
Let's try that again. Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
We become so conditioned to look at our bulletin that if it's not printed, that's moved. And yet, people of God, we can rejoice that this is God's word for us. And so I ask that you pray with me. Gracious and loving God, as we gather here to hear your word, may the words fall afresh upon us. May they give us hope, and may they challenge us. In Jesus' name. So if I were to say, Simon says, pat your head, how many of you, I know it's a silly thing, would instinctively go to patting your head, right? Or if I said, Simon says, pat your head and jump on your foot. I don't think, is Grace still in here? No. She would be a good sport for me. She would do this. Something with those words, it instinctively makes us act, right? How many of you know the history of where Simon says, where it came from? Does anybody know? Is my Latin spelling right there? Okay, well, I had to do a little digging to figure out why do we obey what Simon says? Why couldn't it be Michael says or Ruby says, right? Why is it Simon? And what I found is that it originated not with Simon, but with Cicero. So in ancient Greek, Cicero was a very prominent statesman, right?
Statesman, orator.
And it comes from the literal Latin translation that means Cicero says to do this. So Cicero. And then it jumps ahead to about the 13th century. In the 13th century, there was a man by the name of Simon de Montfort. He was an English-French noble. And he, like Cicero, commanded the authority of those around him. to the point where he actually got King Henry III to be arrested. And he set up in that era one of the first democratic parliaments in the 13th century. So Cicero, we do what he tells us to do. To Simon, if you think about it, anybody that outranks the king, you're going to do what he does, right? And that's how we came up with Simon Says. And as I was thinking about that game, I was thinking it's not just the authority, but it's the timeliness. Nobody plays Simon Says and wait 5 hours to do what Simon says, right? It's not a great game if it takes you a delayed response. You kind of have to do it immediately, right? Because Simon has the authority. In this text today, we hear about Jesus and Jesus' authority to command these men who are out fishing to drop everything and come and follow me. The difference between Cicero and Simon and Jesus is that Jesus' power isn't rooted in a political system. Jesus' power is rooted in God's love. And prior in this passage in Matthew, Jesus just comes out spending 40 days being tempted by Satan in the wilderness. When Satan is trying to get him to have Satan's authority rather than God's authority. And Jesus comes through that experience with the identity of God's Son, of God's power, of God's love. And this marks the beginning of Jesus' public ministry. As Christians, we love beginnings. Beginnings have hope for us, right? We begin a new Christian year. We begin a new calendar year. We begin a new time in our lives, and there's so much hope. We begin a new stewardship time. There's all this excitement and this hope that comes with new beginnings. Some of us get excited when we put on something that we've never done before. Beginning, the hope that comes with this beginning. And with the hope also then comes the challenge. Because if it's a new beginning, most likely we're going to go somewhere we've never gone before. And we're going to do something maybe we've never done before. Hope and challenge in that balance. And so Jesus walks away from Nazareth, from what he knows, to the shores of Galilee. And here he meets up with these fishermen, 2 sets of brothers, right? And we know they're fishermen because they tell us in the text, but they're out there casting their nets and mending their nets. And what's interesting about that is we know that Andrew and Peter are casting their nets. They're pretty good at what they do. If they're casting their nets, they probably, they've gotten it down to a science. And the second group of brothers, James and John, they're mending their nets. Well, they don't need to mend them unless they're pretty good at fishing, right? You don't mend nets if you can't fish and catch anything, right? I'm not a fisherman, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. You have to mend a net to catch fish. So we have these 4 brothers, 2 sets of brothers who are pretty good at fishing. And Jesus walks by them and he says, "Come and follow me." And they drop what they're doing. They drop everything. And they follow Jesus. And as I was thinking about that and thinking about this timeliness, understanding, what's amazing is you hear in Matthew immediately they do this. They don't check their day planners. They don't check their bank accounts, right? They don't see what their phone is telling them they have going on that day. Immediately, there's a sense of urgency. And the Greek word in this text for immediately is euthos, and it means literally desiring a direct response. Like Simon says, you can't wait 5 minutes to pat your head. Jesus says, I'm not waiting for it to be convenient for you. I'm calling you now. When Jesus calls, he wants a direct response. And it's not about convenience. It's about conviction. It's about being convicted that Jesus is the authority to lead us where he is calling us to follow. Not because we know exactly where it's going, but because Jesus does. Because that is the authority with which we rest our mind and our heart in. And it sounds like such a great story, right? But if I asked you right now, immediately, are you ready to just drop everything and follow Jesus? think a lot of us, myself included, would have an indirect response, right? You know, Monday's really good for me, right? Maybe after I'm graduated, right? Maybe after the baby's 7 or 8 months old, right? Right now, immediately. And yet what we can take from that is a direct response that Jesus will call us out of what we are doing to use what we are doing for God's glory. I know that's a mouthful, but this is what happens when there's not a lot of sleep. But what I mean by that is Jesus is calling the fishermen, and he's going to use the skills that they have to be fisher of people. Jesus does not call the fishermen and say, you know what, I want you to forget that you ever learned how to fish. He says, I'm going to use that skill. I'm going to use what you know for God's glory, to be a disciple. Sometimes I think we hesitate when Jesus calls us because we have to have the right skill set, or we have to have the right knowledge, or we're waiting for something to be exactly right. And yet, what this text teaches us is that God's going to use what God has already given us, what we know, for God's glory. We just have to be really willing to have a direct response to that. So that may be photography, maybe physics, maybe nutrition, maybe tennis. Sometimes I think we wait for the situation to be perfect, that we delay instead of directly answering that call. Jesus calls the 4 fishermen, and he uses that skill of fishing to help this call to discipleship. You see it again and again and again. And that is the hope. And for us today, that is also the challenge. What do you know how to do? What are skills that you have in your mind that God can be using for you to be a disciple of Jesus Christ? What do you know? What can you do? It doesn't have to be something reinvented. God has already invented it within you. He's placed it within you. Jesus is just saying, come, follow me. Use what I have given to you for God's glory. When I was in my 20s, I started going to a new church. And I remember it's always awkward to walk into a church for the first time. Right? It's kind of this weird, it's like going on a first date. You're not really sure what to do. And I will never forget that the day that I went into St. Francis for the first time, there was a man by the name of Wes Coble who opened the door for me. Wes Coble was a manager of a computer firm in Research Triangle in Raleigh, North Carolina. And his skill and his gift was he could remember faces, names, and stories. And this was a large church, so I never knew exactly how he did it, but I know that that first and that second and that third and that fourth, he was the unofficial greeter for me. And he remembered things about me from week to week because he had the skill of being a manager. And he said, well, I just got used to managing people. You can't manage people if you don't know them. It's no different than what I do at the church. But he was one of the people that made that first connection for me, and it made a huge difference. He connected me to Christ because he remembered who I was. Because he claimed he was a manager of a technology company in Research Triangle. God will use what we know for God's glory. We don't have to be someone we're not. We don't have to acquire all these new skills. We just have to be able to be comfortable with what God has given us and God has made us to be. So that when Jesus comes and says, come, follow me, we can respond. So this morning, within that hope and with that challenge, how is God calling you? How is Jesus calling you to follow him? And how can you respond to that faith? How can we as a church respond to that faith? one of the things that I think we need to lift up as we talk about stewardship and we talk about responding to the call is for us not to forget that element of joy. If you look in the book of Isaiah, it is all about joy. Those who have walked in darkness have seen a great light, and there is joy. There is joy in responding to God's call, come follow me. There is joy in sharing what we know and who we are. It's an adventure. It's discipleship. And it's full of joy. Next week, we'll gather at the parsonage and we'll pray and we'll talk and we'll listen. And we're going to figure out, we're going to hear, and we're going to listen, and we're going to try to figure out where God is calling us. How God is calling you as individuals and how God is calling us together to follow Him. To have that direct response to the way that God is speaking to us. It's exciting. It's a hope. It's a new beginning. So may you be encouraged this morning that God is calling each and every one of us. May you be hopeful for what that new beginning looks like. May you be sure that God has given you what you need to respond when Jesus says, come follow me. Hallelujah. Amen. A response to the word this morning. Can you still hear me? Do I still have the voice? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Our response to this word is, as we look about light for the journey, is for us to think about and to pray about. We're going to meet next week to pray for our prayer breakfast, but I'm going to ask you to respond by praying now. Praying about how Jesus might be calling you. Praying about how Jesus might be calling our congregation. Praying about what that direct response might look like. What that conviction of heart might be. We're going to have time to think about it in prayer, but we're also going to pray together. These are hard questions, but questions worth asking. How are you called to respond to Jesus' invitation? Come follow me.